We always have a blast chatting with our guests about all sorts of different topics, but sometimes we go off the rails and dig deeper into their automotive and motorsports pasts. As a bonus, let's go behind the scenes with this pit stop minisode for some extra content that didn't quite fit in the main episode. Sit back, enjoy, and remember to like, subscribe, and support Break Fix on Patreon. So I heard y'all had a great time without me talking about imported cars and whatnot, but I want to know a little more about your car history and something Crutch called the compound, which actually sounds very similar to the mountain.
Do you want me to go first or Emily?
Whichever one.
Why don't you go first?
I mean, we could get out a 20-sided die if you like to do it.
Yeah, I can go. Do you want me to recount how I got into cars?
Yeah, that would be
cars
perfect.
I started with.
Sure.
So
I want to segue real quick because when I say this, you'll understand what I'm saying, but no one else will. Let's talk about the compound.
Oh. We're out of the compound officially.
I know you're out of the
cars.
Oh, you got all the cars out.
All the cars are out. It was touch and go there for a bit. But all the cars are officially out of the compound.
So I think part of my becoming a gearhead story involves the fact that I
had an enabler.
I rented.
How many Ford Falcons does he own? Sorry, Galaxies. How many Ford Galaxies?
Galaxies, he's got a shit ton of. He probably has a handful of Falcons.
We used to live. So Nate rented a property from somebody that he used to work with, who loved cars and loved collecting cars and all matter of decay, because that's what most of them were at the time.
These were mostly non-running cars.
I said decay, didn't I?
Highly valued replacement parts.
Wait,
Yeah.
so did
Highly
you
valued rust?
did you live in a junkyard?
Basically, yes.
Kind of, yeah.
From Google satellite view, it definitely kind of looks like.
Well, if you could see all the cars in Google Satellite View, then yes. But most of them were under makeshift cover or had metal on top of them to protect, the convertible components of them because the fabric had rotted away. It had been sitting so long.
He didn't want the patina to change.
Oh, that's true. The patina on some of the cars was gorgeous, but still. So the compound is a loving place where most American cars, specifically Cadillacs,
Ford and Lincolns,
go to rest
and
to be parted out.
Some Mercuries.
And some Mercuries go to be parted out, and they go there and they stay. More cars come in than leave, and we lived there for a while. For a long while. Nate lives there a lot longer, and it was a nice experience to make sure that you were up on your tetanus whenever you walked around the property.
Been there. I can attest to
We
that.
certainly had access to lots of equipment to work on cars, which was nice if we could get to the equipment because there were often cars in the way.
Yeah, the problem was while he had this giant
Compound
shop that had a 7-bay car garage,
yes.
And a paint booth.
bay.
and a paint booth and all this stuff and a transmission tunnel ramp thing.
Oh, it was wonderful.
Mostly all that stuff was covered with shit
Cars.
boxes that were rusting apart.
And boxes of parts for those cars. But so at one point, I think we had how many cars? 10? We owned 10 cars at one point.
We had 10 of them.
We had 10 cars while we were living at the compound, and we've slowly gotten rid of a lot of them. A lot of them meaning we got rid of the one that was I don't even know why you really bought it.
The parts car?
The parts car.
The one that Crutch actually helped me get to my house.
That's
Towed it from Delaware to Central Maryland.
Yeah.
It had to be loaded on my trailer with a forklift.
That was an E34 that I got for $300
for the engine,
so that I could take the engine out of it because it's the M30 B35.
But we kept the whole car rather than just pulling the engine because we can make money off of the parts. And it sat, and we never made money off of the parts.
This is starting to sound a lot like the mountain.
This is what the mountain aspires to be.
So, no.
What is the mountain?
We have another member.
Mountain
His name
Man
is Daniel.
Dan. Mountain Man Dan.
Dan. He has over under 150 Jettas on his property, it seems, and Volkswagen Golfs.
Holy cow.
I'm exaggerating, obviously, but he has
There's
10, 20 square body trucks.
There's definitely north of 30 cars on the property. Yeah.
Are
There's
they
one.
all Volkswagens?
No.
No.
There's the domestic section. There's the import section. There are two,
Hey,
and I have to specify. There is a Mercury Sable wagon and a Taurus wagon. Do not confuse the two, because if you talk about them, he gets upset. So,
Also, if you call them donor cars, he gets upset.
oh
too.
yeah, the donor
No.
provides.
He gets really upset when you show up and take parts from his cars when he's not there.
That's very true. That's very true. Brad and I didn't do that once overnight. No, not at all.
I can't think of one time.
No, yeah, not at all. So yeah, so the ratio right now is like 1 car per acre. So hey, whatever. But we're getting there.
So yeah, the compound, my landlord's hoarding habits rubbed off on me a bit, and I started with my Saab 9.5, and then I got the Volvo Amazon, and then when I found out that the Volvo Amazon that I bought was so rusty and the rear axle needed to be replaced and all that, I ended up finding another Volvo Amazon out in Tucson, Arizona that was rust free, that I got shipped cross country using U-Ship, and then it showed up with no running gear, so just the body, no front and rear suspension. But thankfully, my landlord on the compound has a forklift, and of course, this car was on a, what is that, like one of those big mobile parking garage trailers, the one with all the weird angles that can tilt and do
How
all that.
did they get?
double decker car trailer thing.
we had a forklift. It came off.
But it was.
Oh, no, how did they get it on?
They
had a forklift. Clearly.
the car was put on a big homemade wooden pallet, and then forklifted onto the top of this car moving trailer thing.
Wait,
And then my landlord had a forklift, and I used the forklift to forklift it off, and then got it on the property on the compound.
That one we were actually able to keep undercover for a while. So that one was nice and protected and remained rust free. But the compound certainly contributed to other habits, because you had those 2 cars plus your other car. So do you want to talk about the Mercedes?
Oh, no, not yet.
Oh, do you still have the Mercedes?
I do. Well,
Technically not right now. That's another fun one. So why don't we just talk about the Mercedes?
No,
Well, let me set this up first.
come back to that.
It was a Mercedes station wagon
No, we'll come
with-
back to that.
No, we're
with
gonna do this
rear-facing
now.
back seats.
All of your dirty laundry for cars is coming out because I have to live with you. So this is about the time when we started living together, and I have 2 kids and he has 2 kids. So that's 6 people. That's a lot of people if you want to go someplace as a family together. So this gentleman over here decided, well, we should get a vehicle that can seat all of us. Okay, cool. Well, I've been looking at this Mercedes W124 station wagon for a while, and I think that's it. And then, hey, I found one for sale on eBay. What do you think? I don't know why we're buying a car right now. Well, there's this one, and it's only like...
I don't even think we were talking about buying a car. I think I was just showing you the car. What do you think of this? What, do you
Yes,
like the way
that's
it
right.
looks?
He showed
I
it
did not
to
at
me.
all allude to buying a car.
That's where it gets even worse, is he showed it to me and said, what do you think about it? And I said it was fine, but I was not under the impression that we were buying a car. We took the kids to a park that day, and then the next words out of his mouth as we were sitting on the bench together was, oh shit. I'm like, what do you mean, oh shit? I bought a car. What the fuck are you talking about? You bought a car. Remember that Mercedes wagon I showed you? I bought it. Can we go to New Jersey and pick it up on Thursday?
So this car was listed on eBay, and when I saw it, it was a fairly low price. I think it was like, I don't know, like high, like $1,800, $2,000 bucks. And I'm like, oh, that's pretty cheap. So let me put a bid on it. And then not thinking that I would actually win it, like 2 days later, I actually won it for like $2,800 bucks.
The moral of the story is don't put him in on a car unless you're actually ready to buy it. So he ended up buying it, and we ended up making the trip to New Jersey, and the trip up was lovely. And then we got to the shop where the car was, and then we learned about the
I
car.
think the trip overall was lovely.
It was lovely until you learned about the car.
What was it? The fuel gauge didn't work. What else did it
We
work?
found out that the fuel gauge sender was actually missing.
Was there a hole in the tank because
The
of
guy
that?
who sold it to me just said the fuel gauge didn't work, and then when we actually got it home and dug into it, there was no fuel sender in the tank at all. Like somebody had it had probably broken at some point. They had taken it out and just put the lid cap back on. And screwed
It was
back
gone.
on. So the fuel gauge didn't work. I feel like something else did. Oh, the locks.
Yes.
So we pick up the car, we buy the car, we drive it away and go to some parking lot where we can like actually check it out after we bought it and figure out all the things.
We went to White Castle.
And after we checked it out, we then went to White Castle, and then we were in like some shady part of New Jersey,
As every White Castle is.
as probably where every White Castle is located.
The locks didn't
I've been
work.
there.
And we're like,
were you
okay,
like
we need
way
to
up
lock
the
the car
were you way up the
and-
turnpike?
What?
Were you way up the Jersey Turnpike?
Yeah, it was like right outside of New York City.
I've probably been to that same White Castle. Yeah, you don't want to be there without locking your doors.
Yeah. So we're like, okay, we need to lock the car. We get out of the car, and I lock the car, and like the alarm starts going off. And so then I have to unlock the car, and the alarm thankfully stopped going off. But the Mercedes, at least the W124, and probably some of the earlier models, used a vacuum actuated locking system. So
Don't buy a car with a vacuum actuated locking system, please.
Are you saying they suck?
No, they don't. That's the problem.
well, when mice invade a car and like
That's
to
an
chew on the hard
understatement.
plastic vacuum lines, then they no
So
longer
let's talk about the mice in the car for a minute. We live at the compound. We're in a rural part of Laurel, and mice have been attacking this vehicle. And you'd think that at this point the mice have probably vacated the premises, but no, they did not. We found more mice or evidence of mice in said Mercedes, and then all of a sudden we didn't start seeing any more mice. And we were kind of curious as to why there's no more mice in the car because we didn't really do much to get rid of them. Well, we were working on the Mercedes. We were changing the oil. It has a protective cover underneath of it. So we're both laying on the ground. We're removing the screws to pull the protective cover off of the bottom of it. And this coil drops down. And we're like, that's really weird. And then the coil moved.
Where did this hose come from?
Where did the hose come from? And why is it moving? It was a snake. So we both roll away from the car across the asphalt at the compound, and there's a snake in the engine. I'm like, how the fuck do we get the snake out? So I put on gloves and long sleeves, and I ended up pulling the snake out of the engine as it tried to dive back into the chassis to get through to the cabin, which is not fun. I got bit. It's not poisonous. But that was the first snake in the Mercedes.
There was another snake.
There was another snake, which he's outside doing an oil change on the Mercedes, and all of a sudden he comes hauling ass into the house. And this is not the first of problems with Mercedes. This is several of them. Comes hauling ass in the house. He's like, oh my God, I found a snake. What do I do? And I'm like, you gotta be kidding me. I scared the last one. The snake had decided to coil up on the oil containment.
It was in an oil pan.
Yeah, it was in an oil pan. So
Like a catch pan to catch oil when you're
So
drinking.
that one I ended up killing because we didn't know what kind of snake it was, and I was not willing to get bit again by it.
That one was a much smaller snake.
It was-
like a baby. But
It was smaller, but
the first one was like
massive.
4 feet long, something
Yeah.
like that. It was huge.
But this is all after we got the Mercedes back.
Yeah,
So this genius decided, no, all the dirty laundry. So this genius, we get the Mercedes and we need to get it through the inspection. So what does he want to do? Is he wants to replace the aluminum strips on the door sill because they didn't look quite right.
This wasn't
So-
related to the inspection.
It was related
This
to
is
the
related
inspection
to
because
getting it ready to go to Wolfsgard.
we had to get it through the inspection first. So he's out in the garage. By the way, compound, large area, multiple outbuildings. He's down at the back part of the property in another building at night after driving 8 hours to take your son to your parents and then back home. And he's scraping away at the aluminum sill molding with a brand new X-Acto knife and decides to slice open his hand. So we made a trip to the emergency room. He has a lovely scar to show for it. But we had 1 week to get the car past inspections, and now he can't work on it. So this was my hey honey, can you help me?
Trial by fire.
Can you do the brakes? Can you do the rotors? Can you do the emergency brake on the Mercedes? That way it can just pass inspection. That's how I learned how to do brakes and rotors. Was this guy with the bum hand?
Oh,
So
how about the
there were things that
transmission?
needed to pass inspection. The thing that I sliced my hand open on is
Priorities.
certainly not at all related to the inspection.
Priorities that are important.
I
And
like the car to look good.
I seem to also remember stories of the transmission in that car too.
So there were a lot of
Oh,
stories. So
oh.
she has jumped all over the place, not keeping the timeline. So we go get the car in New Jersey. It doesn't have a working fuel system or fuel gauge. We get it back. We go to White Castle. I mentioned that. We go to the what's the Statue of Liberty. We took
Yeah.
the ferry out to the Statue of Liberty.
Yeah.
It was a good road trip for a random purchased car on eBay. That has had a long tail of maintenance and car support tied to it.
It's like a bad Windows install.
So we had to do a bunch of things to get it to pass inspection. The shocks were completely blown.
Yeah.
It drove like
Had to do those.
like a donk just bouncing down the road.
Yeah.
So we put H&R lowering springs, and
It looks lovely.
new Bill Stein front
Much
shocks.
lower. It's quite beautiful. Like, so we borrowed crutches. What is it?
Fender flaring.
Fender flaring tools. So we rolled the fenders so that we could put the nice new wheels on. They look lovely, especially with everything lowered. Fixed the grill on it, so the grill is nice and shiny. Had to pull parts off of a couple of different ones. That was nice to put together.
Thankfully, Mercedes made a shit ton of the W124 models, so they're always in the junkyard when you need to go find parts.
But it eventually got to the point where when we drove it back from New Jersey, and a couple of times after that, we didn't realize that the transmission fluid was low. No?
So we did all that work to get the car ready to pass inspection, and because we were going to take a road trip to New Hampshire to take it to Wolfsgart. So Wolfsgart is it's actually a Volkswagen focused car show up in Vermont, in Burlington. It's a fantastic car show.
So we were gonna take
So we took the Mercedes up there on our first big road trip after buying it later that same summer. It got up there with no problems really. And then the night before the show, or the morning of the show, we go out to breakfast, get some breakfast burritos. We come out to the car.
There's a puddle under it.
There's a puddle of oil underneath the car.
Not a drip, a puddle. You could swim in it.
Puddle. So we drove down to the nearest like AutoZone or Advanced Auto Parts. I forget what it was. We buy some oil. I think it took like 2 quarts of oil. It was a lot. I mean, the engine takes like 7, so it wasn't like completely
This
down on
wasn't
oil.
the trip that we had to replace the alternator, right?
No.
That was a separate trip.
There have been lots of trips where things broke. So added oil, bought some extra cans of it, did the rest of the show event in Wolfsgart fine, and then kind of drove back to Maryland. And on the drive back to Maryland, we noticed that the car squealed when we when we tried to put it in reverse. It's an automatic, and didn't think to check the transmission fluid. Probably should have.
Always check the transmission fluid.
We got home and turned out the car was super low on transmission fluid. Running it low on transmission fluid caused the torque converter to heat up and then spin the bearing on the oil pump in the front of the transmission. And that's what caused all the problems. Along that same point in time, we also noticed that there was oil in the coolant reservoir. Not a good sign. Drained the oil, and we had like a full oil pan of like chocolate mix soup.
It was
Chocolate milk
really
soup.
gross. Oh, it was nasty.
So the car ended up having a head gasket problem. Within,
Don't say.
I mean, it probably had a head gasket problem when I bought it off of eBay.
We ended up pulling the engine and the transmission out, and neither of us, having done an automatic transmission rebuild, decided, hey, let's try it on a Mercedes. Not any of the other German or Swedish cars in the history that he has worked on. Certainly not that I've worked on.
So my car history has been a whole lot of firsts, and usually my firsts involve
there's no
learning-
seconds.
learning hard lessons, and then watching a whole shit ton of YouTube videos.
You've also just described most of our professions too.
Hey, you gotta learn from somebody. Somebody else has got to screw it up first, so you could just screw it up less badly.
So we sent the head off to a shop to get the head resurfaced. We did
We reboarded it.
We did a redneck rebuild of the block, so rings and bearings and seals and all that. And we tried our hand at rebuilding the automatic transmission,
That
or
is
at least
a pain.
disassembling of the automatic transmission to figure out what was going on. And that's how I found the spun bearing on the front oil pump.
It remained disassembled for a while in the house. By the way, we rebuilt that transmission and the engine in the house
During the winter.
During the winter on the compound. I cleared out space on our porch. So we had a porch. It was a covered porch. It was an external cold area, so it didn't have heat going to it. But we had already had car parts lined all the way around the porch for the other cars that we had. So I had to reorganize the porch so we had a clean space to rebuild the transmission. Because you can't rebuild a transmission if you've got crap everywhere. It has to be clean.
Is Eric starting to realize why I said we need to have this conversation?
Well, this is the entire pit stop right here. I'm just going to cut it out.
So yeah, the nice thing about the compound is there's plenty of room for cars. The not so nice thing about the compound is that none of that is indoor heated space. So we pulled the engine. Yeah. We had to lift the engine into the house and do the rebuild inside the porch area.
And then carry the engine back out of the house. Same thing with the transmission. So we ended up rebuilding the transmission. We found first gear because we didn't have first gear before then, but then we lost a gear when we did the rebuild.
So let's see. It's
you're shaking your head.
It's a
I remember all these conversations.
4-speed with reverse. Going into the transmission rebuild, reverse didn't work. Coming out of the transmission rebuild, reverse worked, but fourth gear didn't.
And we drove it like that for a while, and then decided we should probably just pay somebody to do a proper rebuild on the transmission. So we had put the engine and the transmission back in the Mercedes, and then we ended up dropping our personal rebuild of the transmission out. I still remember being under the Mercedes when it was jacked up, and you're like, are you sure you want me to take this out? I'm like, yeah, I got this. Just drop it and I'll shimmy it out from underneath. And he couldn't believe that I could lift the transmission out from underneath of the car like that. And that's how we got the new one back in, was the same way, because we didn't have a lift.
We had to build these cribbing blocks out of 2x4s to jack the car like
very
2.5 feet up in the air. But they're super sturdy and they're super easy to build. Just a bunch of kind of 2x4s, kind of like Lincoln logs.
So that when we got all that fixed, we thought the Mercedes problems were going to stop, and then you found a hole in the muffler recently.
Oh, that's the recent one. Were there other Mercedes problems?
There were, but we ended up replacing the alternator on a hill in a parking lot of an AutoZone. On a road trip
on the way to the vintage
without any tools to do it, which if you've seen the alternator on a Mercedes W124, it's a pain in the ass to get out, and it is a pain in the ass to put back in. So if you are an individual that is interested in working on cars, make sure you have a friend with narrow fingers, good finger strength, and happens to have crochet hooks and knitting needles nearby, because those things come in handy when you're trying to get stuff out or put stuff in. And that's what we ended up doing when we dropped it, is we had to jack up the car, but it was on a hill, and we had to, it was so hard to do. We were there for 2 hours.
I think that was before, that might have been before we lowered the Mercedes.
Oh yeah.
And so it was actually possible to like get the alternator out without jacking it up.
Yeah. But hole in the muffler, and rather than decide to fix the exhaust on the Mercedes themselves,
You said something that made me think. If you like working on cars,
be
buy a
prepared.
Mercedes because you'll be able to work on them all the time.
So the one time that he decided to not work on the Mercedes and take it to a shop, we've moved to the country. We're in northwestern Maryland.
We have a garage now.
We have a garage. It's a wonderful 3-bay garage, 2 stories, not tall enough to put a 4-post lift in, but we're talking about plans that we can.
I'm
make.
Basically around the corner from you, Eric.
yeah.
So you know the country, and you know the kind of trucks that drive around in the country with the exhaust. that
So
they
by the
have.
way, I'm the idiot with the European spec golf wagon running around.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
Very
and
cool.
I know the guy with the bright orange VR6 right hand.
Oh, the right-hand drive one.
Yeah, he used to work at the Starbucks. He also has a Cabrio with a VR6 swap in it.
Oh, nice.
So yeah.
Oh yeah,
So-
and his
So
Eurospec
I
wagon
probably
is
should have
VR6
asked
too.
you for an exhaust shop that's decent before I did what I did.
Or I just call Mountain Man Dan down from the mountain and he'll do it.
So
I usually do all my own work, and
He welds, so it's a beautiful thing.
I have a
He welds
welder.
too?
I know how to weld too. I took a class at Anne Arundel Community College years ago to figure out how to weld. It was great, but in a bit of weakness, I decided I don't want to deal with this hole in my exhaust. I'll take it to a shop and I'll just let them do it. And they've had my car for about a month now.
we went
And
to pick
we
it up.
got it back after like 2 or 3 weeks. And
It sounded just like all of the other trucks that come down the road, and it's a Mercedes.
it sounded like a diesel pickup truck.
Nice.
It sounded like the TT that one time.
Ha ha ha.
So I called. Oh, and they also cut my catalytic converter off, even though I didn't ask for it.
Precious
That's what you
metals.
pay for.
That's
That's
precious
top
So
notch
that's
metals.
still at
service.
the shop getting fixed. So we talked to the shop.
Wait, is it at the Mercedes? Is it at the Mercedes shop across from our
No,
warehouse?
no.
He did not take it to the Mercedes shop.
Oh,
He took
okay.
it to an exhaust place.
Oh.
So it's
Is it the
still
exhaust
there.
place across the street from the Rofo?
Yes.
yeah,
They're
he
working
is.
on getting it fixed. They're very nice people. So hopefully it'll be done this week. So that's the latest on the Mercedes.
So I have a couple other questions, some fun questions for you guys, since we've talked at length about this Volvo. But now that you're a car people, and Emily's always been one, even though she doesn't want to admit it. Top 3 favorite cars of all time,
Yes, I have a list.
and you
hold on.
can't say the 480.
She's
I
prepared.
have a list. So I like the Triumph Herald, the MBG GT, the 2002 MR2 W10. So the earlier models, not like the
No.
later models that are curvy.
The Toyota MR2 W10.
Yeah.
He said 2002.
Sorry, Toyota MR2. Sorry. I'm just excited. The BMW 2002 Touring, specifically the 1973 model. 1986 Volkswagen Golf GTI Mark II. 1990s Peugeot 205 GTI. Sorry, I have like 4 more.
No, go ahead. Now you're on a roll.
Pretty much any gremlin. There was one for sale on Bring a Trailer that was gorgeous. It was purple and lime green and had a lovely, lovely paint job on it.
It went for cheap.
It went for cheap and we didn't get it. 1974 Datsun 260Z, Renault R5 GT Turbo, the Studebaker Lark, the two-door wagon model, and now the brand new Nissan Z Proto. I've been eyeballing that one.
The 400Z, that looks
Yeah.
amazing. Aside from the rectangular front.
We have a member that is contemplating getting rid of his F-Type Jag for a 400Z. So we're going to see if that's going to happen. He says he has to sit in it first. He needs to know if he fits. So, so wow, and yet you're not a car person, or whatever. It's a very specific list, like 1986 Mark II, not an 88 or a 92. It's like it's got to be an 86. It's like what?
So I being around him long enough, I've started to spend time reading through the history with some of these cars and noticing the changes that are made across model years. And like some of them are very specific, like if you're going to get a year, this is the year that you're going to get because it has the least amount of problems. It has the styling that everybody is looking for. So there's a return on investment if you're getting them. I don't really care about the return on the investment part of it.
Like a roundy BMW
Yeah.
2002 versus a square light.
It's more about like what I like. I don't care what other people like. I like specific styles. I like the 1980s boxiness. I like the weird cars. I like the ugly cars that a lot of people don't like. I still think the Aztec is absolutely horrid though. And I think
just wait
Wait, hang on.
our ugly cars episode comes out. It's a doozy.
What do you think of the HHR?
I don't think
Gosh.
I've seen it.
The Chevy
is like
HHR?
a ugly.
It's
an
the P-
uglier
it's the Chevy
version of
PT Cruiser.
Oh no. Oh no.
It's
So
the
now-
best car ever.
So now we'll flip the coin and go to Nate. So if you had a top 3 cars and you can't be the Volvo 480, what would it be?
Huh. I for a long time have lusted after a Porsche 911. I kick myself every day for not getting one like 10 or 15 years ago.
Is there a
Those
specific
prices-
year, like Emily, like it has to be
Yeah.
a 1972 E model? With,
I
you
do
know,
have a specific year, mainly driven based on potential affordability. I like the like 86 to 89 911 Carrera, right when they switched from what was it, the old gearbox to the new one.
They went from the 915 to the G50s, and it's got a 3.2 liter. Yep, I'm a little bit of a Porsche person. Just
Yeah, so I would love one of those, but the prices are still.
oh, they're only going up.
They're only going up.
They're only going up.
I really love the Renault R5 Turbo 2. That again is way out of price range for like ever affording. So I would settle for a Renault R5 GT Turbo. Kind of looks like the R5 Turbo 2, but it's not rear engined. It's normal front engine, front wheel drive. A Peugeot 205 GTI. I kind of like hot hatches. But here's a weird one. A Lotus Esprit Turbo.
Which version of it? The original one or the later ones?
The mid 80s
Okay.
ones. Yeah.
Yeah, because the Esprit came out in like the late 70s, so it all depends, you know.
Although I know that car would be a horrible car to own.
Yes. Yeah, the only thing good about those cars is the transmission, and it's a terrible trans. So
I do like a lot of the Volkswagen Type 3 styles, like the fastback or the
Those are
squareback ones.
the
I would
411s,
love
yeah.
to get like a squareback and like resto mod it with like a Subaru engine or something in the back.
Well, obviously you need to shove a W12 in there somehow.
1.8 turbo. I'm just saying. Anyway, well, that's cool. So, okay, let's do the $1 million man question, right? Which is, if you had all the money in the world and you could only buy one car, what would it be?
I'm not sure. That's a hard one. Well, if we're talking about all the money in the world, the Renault R5 GT Turbo.
No, the Turbo 2, the real one.
The real one.
Rear engine.
Yeah, I think that would be it because it's all the money in the world, and those cars are pretty expensive. And
And it's really
they're-
cool to look at.
Yeah, I think that would be the one for me.
Trying to think of something we might have seen at
What was the
Classic Remise.
yeah.
What was it? Last year? The year before? I don't know. It's been so long. with
We've
quarantine.
been married for 2 years, so let's start with that.
Wow, it's been that long.
So 2 years ago, we
So-
went to Germany, and we went to Classic Remise
So in Berlin, there's this amazing old
train station.
train station,
Yeah.
train depot that has been converted to workshop / collector car storage
Museum
/
almost.
museum.
Yeah.
And it's free to the public to walk in, and there's workshops around the outside edge of craftsmen working on doing like pristine nut and bolt restorations on old Ferraris and Mercedes and things like that. And then there's cars there in storage. They had one of what was that Volkswagen electric car from the
The
mid
Up.
2000s?
Or what was it called?
Oh, no, that's
The one.
The one was that
Yeah.
it? They
Well,
had
there was
one of
also
those?
it wasn't the 3-wheeled one, right?
I don't think so.
Okay.
It was like the center seat, really
Yeah.
sleek one.
They had one of those there. They had really old Lamborghinis and Porsches. They had the Lancia Stratos.
Mm.
That would be a pretty cool car if I had all the money. They had one of those there. Speaking of Lancias, when I was looking and buying my Volvo Amazon, looking for an old car that was weird and cheap and met those requirements, I came across a Lancia Beta.
Mm-hmm.
Some guy had like 3 of them down in Virginia, and they were all rust buckets.
Oh yeah. So over here they sold the Scorpion and they sold the Beta Monte Carlo. They're both betas basically. They're you have to like that Panda. I call it the Panda front end because it's got that ring around the lights, kind of like a DeLorean, that whole deal.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're interesting little cars. The last time I saw one of those that was running is when I watched Herbie Goes to Monte Carlo. So yeah. But at any rate, yeah, no. So that's kind of cool. That's interesting. I mean, we get answers from all over the place, but one of the ones that Brad usually likes to ask is, in your opinion, the sexiest car of all time?
Ooh.
Volvo 480.
Okay, so I'm gonna say this because Nate probably knows what I'm gonna say. I believe it's the Mark II Stingray. The one that's got the hips for miles. and I say that lovingly, like it's the curves on that car are just beautiful for the era that it was made in. It was very not practical, and that's in my opinion what makes those cars beautiful. It's not beautiful by modern standards for car design. What did we see recently that Doug was talking about, and it was beautiful?
Cannot remember, but that was the one that's stuck in my head right now.
Yeah, it's gonna kill me. But Doug DeMuro reviewed a car recently that was just wonderful. It was it 2020, right? No,
I have no idea.
We'll figure out what it is like later tonight. Wake up in the middle of the night and like scream it. Eventually, you might hear us. But yeah, I like the Stingray. I think they're beautiful.
I like the old Porsche 356. I think those are some of the most beautiful cars.
Yeah, we'll flip it on its nose. And you guys already kind of served this up in some respects. But the ugliest car, in your opinion?
I don't think the Aztec is the ugliest. I think it is very ugly, but I do not think that it is the ugliest.
I know. I'll go first.
Yeah.
I think one of the ugliest cars is the Nissan Escargot.
All right.
Looks like a snail.
Yep.
I don't know. I can't really think of one right now. I don't know. Cars have to have character, and if it doesn't have character, it's not really a car. Like a lot of people think of cars as just something to get them from point A to B, and they should really be more than that. So if you don't enjoy looking at it, and you certainly don't enjoy driving it, it's not going to be a pretty car. It's going to be an ugly car no matter what, from the inside out.
Well, and that's, as an automotive enthusiast, I die a little inside every day because so many people just want an appliance. And so the market gets flooded with appliances. Other than the Halo cars or some low production models, there aren't that many truly sexy vehicles anymore that you can just walk in and buy.
They're all fairly bland. I think the Nissan 400Z is like one of the most recent cars I've seen that actually has fairly attractive styling to it, because it seems like all the other car makers have just been trying to outdo each other with like way too many lines and giant grills and things. Like every new BMW these days, the M3 and M4.
Have you seen the picture that takes an X7 grill and puts it on the front of an E30?
That's the new M4.
Well, and then it has an evolution of that takes the X7 grill and just makes it the entire car.
Yeah.
I think the other thing that I dislike about current car design is that because of the popularity of SUVs, and
Oh.
probably also due to the ever increasing safety standards and everything, cars just become bigger and heavier, and like every car these days is kind of a crossover in look. They all look like a car that was put into a photocopier and put on 150% zoom, like enlargement.
I don't call them crossovers. I call them compromises. That's pretty much what they are. So
I'm going to be in the boat where we're probably buying our first crossover here very soon, but it will be unique because we are looking at buying one of the first release ID4s by Volkswagen. So it is a crossover style. I mean, I've other than the trucks and SUVs I've had for towing, and the truck I had right in college, everything else I've owned has been a sedan, a hatchback, or a wagon. I've never owned something in the crossover segment.
Dude, once you go van life, that's it. It's over.
Another car that I am really fascinated about and disappointed that like we don't get a lot of cool cars here in the US. Being a kind of hatchback lover, we don't get a lot of cool small little cars.
You're gonna talk about which one?
The Honda E.
Yeah, that's it. Yes.
Are you familiar with the Honda E?
I am, and we just talked about this on the 4th episode of the drive-through. And my sister is a big fan of European hatchbacks as well, but she's in the Fiat camp. And so recently there was a comparison between a rendering of the Fiat 126 electric and the Honda E, and I hate to say the Fiat wins every day.
I don't think I've seen that one. I'll have to look it up.
Brad might be able to find a picture of it.
Oh, he's got the escargot there. But I do think the Honda E is pretty cool. I like the front grille headlight area. I like the fact that they've kind of made the dashboard and cluster kind of this seamless screen that goes across the dash. And
Yeah, they tried that in the
integrated-
90s. They tried that in the 90s with the Prelude. So,
And
So,
then integrated the side mirrors as cameras built into the screens on the dash. I think that's pretty neat.
So I'm looking at a photo of the Honda E right now. It looks like a movie robot from the early 2000s. Like it has that front end. It looks like it belongs in Wall-E. I mean,
Yes.
just straight out of the movie.
It's a friendly car. Children will love it.
it's different,
Another cool
Oh, the E
EV is the Peugeot E-Legend. Have you seen that one?
It's pretty.
That one's really cool.
Yeah, you guys want to nerd on EVs. I got to connect you with my sister because she goes hog wild on that when we do the drive-through. It's like, oh God, there's like 10 of them we got to talk about. It's like
Her favorite is the Bugatti Baby 2.
I forgot about that thing. $45,000 for a kid's toy.
If you like what you've heard and want to learn more about GTM, be sure to check us out on www.gtmotorsports.org. You can also find us on Instagram at Grand Touring Motorsports. Also, if you want to get involved or have suggestions for future shows, you can call or text us at 202-630-1770 or send us an email at crewchief@gtmotorsports.org. We'd love to hear from you.
Hey listeners, Crew Chief Eric here. Do you like what you've seen, heard, and read from GTM? Great, so do we, and we have a lot of fun doing it. But please remember, we're fueled by volunteers and remain a no annual fee organization. But we still need help to keep the momentum going so that we can continue to record, write, edit, and broadcast all of your favorite content. So be sure to visit www.patreon.com/GT Motorsports or visit our website and click in the top right corner on the support and donate to learn how you can help.